Are you leaning in or are you leaning away from running?
Well, I'm here in Iowa, Robert.
Well, that's a tell.
Look, I love this country. And I think America's in a lot of trouble.
He's in Iowa. That's usually a tell in American politics. Welcome back to America Decides. That was part of my exchange with former Vice President Mike Pence last month. And a new super PAC has now been formed to support a potential Pence campaign committed to America, as several aides who worked for Georgia Governor Brian Kemp and former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, Fin Gómez and Aaron Navarro join us now. Fin is CBS News' political director. Aaron is a CBS News political reporter. It's great to have you both here. Thanks for joining us at the America Decides table. Pence's super PAC. You make a statement sometimes in politics by personnel. Personnel is policy, the old line. Scott Reed, Bob Dole's former campaign manager, Jeb Hensarling, former heavyweight close to Paul Ryan in the House, now out of Congress. Seems like a pretty serious super PAC. Shows me that they might have a lot of money potentially coming in.
I think money and momentum, Bob, and you're right. And if you look at the fact that, as you mentioned, that Scott Reed was the former head of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, there's some avenues that he can bring into that super PAC, as you know, and also the fact that two of the main people running this super PAC come from governors who took on Trump, right? And in the last, you have Brian Kemp of Georgia, you have his former campaign manager being the executive director of this super PAC, and Mike Ritchie, who's the longtime comms guy for Larry Hogan out of Maryland, is now running comms for this shop. And also, I think it also shows that Pence is looking straight ahead to 2024.
But Pence has a long road ahead in this nomination fight. He has been taking on a candidate you've been covering closely, a potential candidate,
That's right.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. How do you see Pence in relation not only to Trump, but to DeSantis?
Well, Pence has come out against DeSantis when it comes to this fight with Disney, saying that he is overstepping a bit in terms of traditional conservative values and trying to control this corporation. And, in a way, Pence is creating a contrast on abortion, being a bit more for a national abortion ban compared to DeSantis, who has not directly answered that question. But it's interesting. Finn brought up the people that are part of this PAC, and these are people. Bobby Sapro ran Brian Kemp's campaign in 2022, including that primary where he beat a Trump-backed candidate by 52 points. These are operatives that have taken on Trump in the modern age since 2020 and have won. And I do think that's notable when you look at Pence's path in the primary and, in a way, taking on Trump in his own style.
And Hogan's already told CBS News he's not running for the Republican nomination. And maybe this is a sign that Governor Kemp's not going to run for the nomination. Maybe a little bit of a implied blessing that Pence could be that non-Trump classic conservative candidate. Pence was telling us in Iowa that he wants to run as a traditional conservative. He said the same to the New York Times this week. Is there a path, though, for that movement traditional conservative in a populist age inside the Republican Party?
Well, it's a lot more difficult this cycle than it was in previous cycles. Obviously, Bob, he still has that. There's still that hardcore pro-Trump, 25 to 30% of the base at least, that will become an obstacle for him as he proceeds forward, right? And going back to January 6, 2021, and the backlash he got from the Trump supporters for that, I think that could be politically still an obstacle for him. However, as he could emerge as a consensus traditional conservative candidate, as maybe, and as we all know, this field could change a lot, and a lot can happen between now.
And what's he taking shots on Trump on? Abortion.
Exactly.
And so who has Florida Governor Ron DeSantis? Let's listen to what Florida Governor DeSantis had to say today on abortion.
The legislature put it in. I signed the bill. I was proud to do it. He won't answer whether he would sign it or not.
Aaron, is this an attack we're going to see from DeSantis? Should he get in the race? He's going to take on Trump from the right. And then, Finn, I'd love to hear how you think the Trump people are responding to this kind of attack from DeSantis, or at least not an attack, but a comment, shall we say.
The issue of abortion is definitely something that DeSantis sees he can run to the right of Trump on, as well as when it comes to this conflict with Disney. But it's notable. I've been watching DeSantis press conferences all year when he does out-of-state stump speeches. This is one of the most direct attacks DeSantis has taken.
You think it's an attack?
I do. He said, look, I'm proud I signed that abortion ban. Trump won't even answer whether he would do that in Florida. Trump was asked a very direct question: would you sign a 6-week abortion ban in Florida? Trump said, "I'm looking at all the options." And
is he saying Trump's name, Aaron? He's not saying Trump's name.
Well,
yet.
To me, you're right. That's right. But this does feel direct. It was a direct question. What do you think about Trump's comment? And he said, "Look, a Florida man, Florida resident, he won't even answer that question." And at least in terms of DeSantis standards, it does feel direct to me so far.
It's more of a contrast, more of an attack, but he's still not saying the T word. And I think that says a lot about where we are in the state of the race. Trump is getting flack from externally and internally for not being able to clearly lay out his position.
Does that worry the Trump people at all?
No. Why? Because of the Supreme Court picks that he chose while he was president, and behind the reason of the reversal of Roe v. Wade. Right? And I think he continues to point to that, brandish his credentials, saying he's the most, pro-life president there's ever been. And again, going back to SCOTUS picks. That's not going to change, at least not in the near future.
Real quick from both of you. Another big issue today, the Kentucky gubernatorial primary, especially for the Republicans. Who are you watching? What matters in 30 seconds each?
Daniel Cameron has been the front runner this whole race. And Kelly Craft, who is down about 10 points to him in polls, got a last-minute endorsement from DeSantis, robocall last night. If she somehow pulls it off in a low-turnout election tomorrow, DeSantis has a lot to gain from that, because Cameron is also backed by former President Trump. And in this kind of quasi-war, that will be interesting to watch.
It is definitely a proxy war. It reminds me of the midterms a little bit, right? When Trump was picking one side and the establishment was picking the other. In these primary fights, you're seeing the same thing now. One interesting note, Kelly Craft and her husband are big-time GOP donors. So even if she loses, I wonder who she's going to think about donating to.
Fin Gómez, Aaron Navarro, appreciate you stopping by.